My name is Justin Brannon, and I am chair of the committee. The agenda and documents are located at https://okc.primegov.com/public/portal. You would then select the Downtown Design Review Committee meeting, then click on an agenda item, and the relevant documents will come up below the item. Please see the agenda for additional information regarding meeting procedures and the review process. If you are parked in the Sheridan Walker parking garage north of John Rex Elementary School or in the Arts District parking garage south of City Hall, staff can provide a parking validation ticket to you. Keith, will you please call roll?
Brannon.
Here.
Copeland.
Here.
Black.
Here.
Schmidt. Here. We have quorum.
All right, perfect. Item number 2, approval of minutes. If there are no comments, that entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Copeland, second.
Okay, Black, Copeland, please vote. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 3, cases withdrawn, we have none. Item number 4, continuous requests, we have none. Item 5, consent docket, we have none. Item 6, case for individual consideration, we have DTCA-23-00054 at 400 North EK Gaylord.
Good morning. Laura Griggs, Planning Department. You had at your seat a copy of an email I received yesterday afternoon, which is on this case, and I just wanted to point that out. And I've handed out copies to the people that are here as well. This item was on your agenda last month, and it was continued. We had extensive discussion that you all probably remember. And the applicant has submitted some different information on one of the products. I forgot to ask him if he has samples. Okay, great. And he also brought samples with him today, which I was really hoping he'd be able to do so you could actually see it. One thing I want to point out to you before I go any further is on the documents that he submitted, there was a label that didn't get changed, and I just wanted to clarify that. So on, well, and all I'm going to do is if I can, oh my God, I lost it. Hang on a minute. So on the drawings that were submitted, that are stamped April 30th, which is when they had to get everything back in on May 1st, and he got it to me a day early, which I appreciate, you will see on that top sheet where there's 2 samples, and one of them said shake style, and that should have been eliminated because that is reflective of their original request. And so just for your information, that is no longer what they're proposing. They're proposing the picture of what you're seeing, which is the product that is to look as much like stucco as this can. So I wanted to point that out. So at your last meeting, you probably remember that this item was continued and you requested the applicant revise the proposed product to a material that more closely approximate, sorry, that was just, let me back up. In April, you had this on your agenda, and you asked them to revise the shake component to be a product that more closely approximates the appearance of the previously approved stucco and was architecturally compatible with the previously approved design. There was extensive discussion about the fact that the one building has a curved corner component, and there was concern about putting the Hardie product on the curved component instead of the originally approved stucco. And so I received the resubmittal, as I said, on April 30th. They revised the information specifying that the stucco cladding would now remain on the rounded corner of Building A, and that level 2 of the remaining Building A and of Building B would be lap-style cementitious fiber siding, and levels 3 through 6 would be flat panel stucco look siding. You've seen most of the information contained in the staff report was in the previous staff report. I did add reference in the discussion section about, at the last meeting, discussion from the committee and members of the public included concerns about the durability and longevity of the proposed products, as well as the architectural compatibility with the style of the proposed building itself and with the architectural character of the immediate surrounding area, which includes predominantly masonry buildings. Although the applicant has revised the cladding to keep the originally approved stucco on the rounded corner of Building A and replace the originally requested fiber cement shake style siding with flat panel stucco look, horizontal lap siding is still proposed on many areas of the building. Staff's position remains that this product is not appropriate to the proposed building and is not supported by the guidelines. Staff recommends that if this application is to be approved, that it be approved with the condition that the applicant revise the proposed product to be a material that more closely approximate the appearance of the previously approved stucco and is architecturally compatible with the previously approved design, or to an alternative material that is more in keeping with the character of the previously approved project and surrounding district. This information is required to be submitted to staff prior to the issuance of the certificate of approval. Do you have any questions? The applicant is here, developer is here. Concerned adjacent property owners that have spoken to you before are also in attendance.
Any questions for staff? Is there a % difference from stucco used? I think we have a page that has it on there.
There is, but what I will tell you is that the stucco numbers are included in the same column with
The cementitious.
the cementitious. But if
yeah.
you look at the numbers, based on the numbers they provided, it appears that the stucco is about a third of the square footage shown for the cementitious and stucco. So it's like, that would mean that of that, the brick is approximately 25%, and the stucco then was going to be 75%. So they were coming in with 75% cementitious siding. So on Building A, if a third of that 75% is going to remain stucco, you could make a quick assumption, you might be a little wrong, that cementitious is 50 and the stucco is 25 and then the brick is 25, and I could just be totally wrong with that.
Sure.
But Building B remains the same,
Okay.
25 brick, 75 cementitious products.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Any other questions? Okay. If the applicant want to speak on
Yeah,
this?
but, and Isaac can correct me if I was wrong with that quick math. Okay, great. Okay, let me get to his, and I'll just land there. I'll let you.
I was going to ask you how we change slides. Perfect. Thank you, Laura. So my name is Isaac Hines, 500 North Broadway, literally across the street from the site. Thank you, everyone, for being here again. As Laura mentioned, I'm sure you all remember our last conversation, so I will try and be as concise and brief as possible with the presentation that I have. The other people that I have with me, I would like to just I have representatives from both of the developers, Belmont and Rose Rock. There is a representative from Okura, and in addition to listening to what you heard, we thought it would be a good idea to have another peer review done by Okura from an outside architect who is, I'm obviously biased, and he is in attendance as well. So if you have questions of him as well, and his letter was part of that packet and his recommendations.
And I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that we got that letter, and there was also an email from another Oklahoma City architect in your packet. Sorry, I forgot to mention that.
You're good, no worries. So I'll go through this real quickly, like I said, and walk you through what our proposed changes are and how to address the comments we heard from you guys last week. So I'll start with this one. And a quick history of the approval. The project was approved on November 2nd. We're all familiar with that, with stucco and brick, as Laura previously mentioned. We heard all the comments, we listened, and everything that follows is directly addressing those comments to try and get this through and get an approval. So the west facade, I believe, Mr. Blatt, you're the one that had the main concerns about that. The west facade, which is the rounded corner, is back to the originally approved stucco. So that is a no change. As you can see, the area that's shaded in the dark gray or black is no change from the approved application. So the rounded corner is back to being stucco. That hard corner, it should get back to the originally approved beautiful statement corner. The areas in blue are what we are proposing to switch to an artisan, it's called artisan plank cementitious fiber siding. I will show you what that does and how we use it to best replicate the originally approved stucco. So this is one of the panels. I will pass these up to you. I brought two. As you can see, they click lock together, and so it replicates the reveals you see in stucco. The fasteners are all hidden, so you don't have to worry about deterioration from weather, ice, things of that nature, or caulking issues. The two panels have concealed fasteners. They can be painted to match. They have the reveals built in. I will pass both of these up to you. I will address these further with durability and warranty comments here in a second. That is the area that is shown in blue. So that would be level 2. The original stucco design had horizontal striations like this. This best replicates that as close as we can. The area in yellow that you see is what, again, the original approved was stucco. Then when we were here last time, that's what we were proposing to do cedar shake. We heard you, we listened. So large floor mat stucco look panel, which is what was originally proposed by Laura and her staff. This is a sample of what that looks like. I'll hand this up to you as well so that you can see it, and it best replicates our original stucco design as well, with patterning, with joints, with reveals, is durable and a solid material. So these are the areas for that, and as you can see that, and again, I appreciate Laura pointing out that I didn't change a word, and I apologize for that. We're moving real quick here. So to address her comment, Building A, as you can see right there, is the new numbers are, the brick is 24.6. I'm reading up here because it's better. Stucco is 26.8, and cementitious fiber siding is 48.6. She was correct in stating that Building B, the percentages remained unchanged at 73.1 and 26.9. Both of those exclude doors, windows of that nature. So those are the percentages we're proposing with those two materials. All right, moving forward one. Again, we heard you. So you'll see on the left right here, this is a snippet from an actual warranty of those actual projects or products. And it states that not only do we have a 30-year warranty, they expect a 50-year life expectancy. It's wind rated up to 150 miles an hour. It's fade resistant. It's insect resistant. I'll go into some of the other details too, but its thermal expansion properties are great. It is a very durable, very solid, very appropriate material to maintain a long, nice, well-designed project. The pictures you see, the one on the left, this is the actual product that you're passing around as the artisan plank, and as you can see, those reveals start to replicate a historic detailing, whether it's stone, limestone bands, stucco bands. It creates a nice aesthetic on level 2. Level 3, when you move up, this is a reverse board and bat installation of a stucco panel. So you see they replicate very, very closely our original approved design. That's a very high-level understanding of these products, but I hope by passing them around, you get the sense about how durable and the things that I'm saying, how true those statements are. All right, moving forward, I'm going to go into a brief thing right here real quick. Again, we're listening. We repulled the map, and we said, we're in the DBD. There was reference to when we were chatting, a CBD. The CBD no longer exists. This map is what governs and overrode the CBD and controls the guidelines, the principles, and the things that architects adhere to maintain quality districts. So what you see there as well is you'll see 3 blue dots and a yellow dot. I'm going to briefly talk about 3 other projects in this district that are under the same set of guidelines and principles, and it's a compare and contrast situation. The yellow asterisk is where our site is located within the DBD. Okay, it's not scrolling. I think I broke it. This is why we can't have nice things. It's me, guys.
It did.
Okay, go the other way now.
Well, that's weird. Oh, so it's, I don't know why that's not working. Hold on a minute.
Hey, we're back. I said I was going to be quick. I didn't mean to lie to you. Can it work from over there and I can point at you and I can go, slide?
That's fine.
Awesome. We're good. Next. All right,
Oh,
so this project is, I'm sure you're all familiar with this. It's the Oklahoma City Community Foundation. This rendering was pulled from the presentation given to DDRC in 2017, almost exactly 7 years ago. The brief history on this is the material you see there that is on this facade was originally slated to be terracotta panels. The reason they proposed the change to what is labeled as a glass reinforced fiber concrete panel, it's just a different nomenclature for a similar style product. Manufacturers name things differently, but it is, from our standpoint, it is the same material. It's just a proprietary name. And it was suggested as a change because the price they got of terracotta during design, when they got the actual bid, those numbers were so far apart, it was in an effort to maintain budget and build a quality product. This is the product that, the rendering they were shown, this is the product they proposed. I gotta get to where I am in here. Okay, so again, as I mentioned, that was 7 years ago. You wanna hit my next slide? No, you're good.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out what I did while ago. I went like that.
All right.
Is that it? Okay.
Yes, it is. Go forward one more. It went back. It went back on you again.
Sorry.
You're good.
It is being strange.
Back one. It went two. Okay, here we go. Perfect. This is how that project currently looks as it currently exists. This is a photo I took walking the site. As you can see, for 7 years on, the project still looks good. I don't see signs of swelling, warping, cracking, telegraphing, any of the items that we heard. This is just to illustrate that that can be a durable product in this climate, in this district, and make beautiful looking buildings in historic districts. That was 7 years ago. I think it still looks great.
Can I ask a quick question?
You can ask whatever you want.
Is that painted?
I believe that's integrally colored.
Okay.
I think it's through body, but I
Perfect.
don't know the
I
answer to
know
that, but
you're-
that's my educated
Yeah,
guess.
Okay, I was just curious if you knew if it was painted or not. Okay, thanks.
Okay, perfect. In requesting the change, this material, as I stated, we're trying to get approval on this. We have a similar situation. Stucco came in insanely cost due to market conditions. Hence, we're proposing a similar scenario, and that's why I included this project, just to show you it can be successful in the district, even if it is as a VE switch. All right, next slide. All right, okay, so everyone's familiar with the Muse. It was mentioned multiple times last time we were discussing as a group. And I show this to show a few different things. This project uses 6 different types of cementitious fiber siding, but this is the one we were all chatting about, having durability issues, maintenance. We don't like the look of this. The percentages on this one, I removed glazing. As you can see, this is pulled from their application from 2023. I struck through red because you're not supposed to include glazing. So the true percentages on this one are 77% fiber cement and 23% brick. Those percentages are greater than what I'm asking for. The material itself, cementitious fiber siding, is implicitly allowed in the guidelines. The reason we're here is I'm requesting to use it in percentages greater than the allowed percentages. This is an example of when that was done. I'm not saying it's good, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not commenting on the design on this. I'm just saying this is here, this was done. I walked it yesterday, and the only things that I saw that were issues that had to be, maintenance issues on the west facade, there were a few pieces missing, but it's where they tore down the now leasing sign, and it simply looks like they haven't come back and fixed the holes that they drilled in it to mount a sign. It's showing, it's looking good. The main difference between this and the project that I'm proposing, and back to that first slide, is our ground floor, we are maintaining brick. We are maintaining brick detailing. It goes back to that sense of scale I mentioned, sense of place, durability. And if you get up higher with this material, some of those things that you notice at ground plane, you don't notice high up. I'm not saying that there are things that are defects in the material. I stand by it. I believe it's a quality material. This also, the changes that we show here also address the comment about, well, I don't want to see wood look in lap siding or wood look in shake. We're not using either of those anymore, even though they're here, and I agree that gives off a different aesthetic. I think what we're proposing today is so close to stucco that outside of this room it will be almost indistinguishable. We went one notch higher on quality, but we're staying in the same approved type of product. So the ground floor comparison here is why I wanted to show this. Next slide. This is what it looks like today. You're all familiar with it. Cedar shake, lap siding with sprinklings of brick thrown throughout. And as you can see, the reason I took this photo, and it's not particularly an attractive photo, is to show that from a distance, some of these details disappear, some of the concerns that the committee had. When you're up close to my building, our brick is anywhere from 16 to 24 feet high. You will never experience this product at ground level as a pedestrian. It will not be seen that way as it is seen on this project. So through clever design and through clever detailing, we are maximizing the quality materials and the impact they have on the city while taking the ones that people foresee as not providing that quality impact and placing them up higher. So as a city scale, they kind of disappear. And again, design matters. Again, we heard you. That's what we were trying to do. We have 4 stories over 1. We have a base of brick. This is just a 4-story building. So my percentages being less than this also factor in that I have more square footage. So I still feel like this is a very good compromise. Next slide. This project right here, I included a similar situation. Detailing shows several different types of cementitious fiber siding mixed with brick. You're all familiar with this project. You've driven past it. Design matters. How you ornament a building, how you detail it. We haven't changed that. The reason we're requesting this change to cementitious fiber siding because the stucco price was so high is in an effort to maintain what we feel is that detailing we put that does seamlessly blend this into the district. It folds it in, it matches the character. It's that continuity and the sense of place that we create, not only with the shape of the buildings, which we're not here to discuss, just this material change. This enhances our story and what we're trying to do with the district, with the project, with the materiality. So this is just one that I show. If you go to the next picture, it shows how they actually implemented it. So you can see the vertical gray piece right there is the exact same product you're holding as the flat panel stucco cement. It comes with 3 different levels of texture. They just picked a different level of texture, but the product is the same. And even though it goes all the way to the ground and we're not, it's holding up relatively well for a heavy use building in this district. Next slide. To illustrate my point that things kind of disappear as they get up high and some of the concerns about people seeing this. In that top right, or the middle of the photo, the top, you see that black square next to the glass rail right there? That's lap siding. We're not doing lap siding, we're doing the artisan panel, but that's to show you that up high above that level, in our brick base, the scale, the level tends to disappear. So even if we were using lap siding, you wouldn't see it, but we're not. We're using large flat panel. This is just 2 examples in the district I wanted to comment on. And it comes down to how you detail it, how you design it, and how it fits in. Materials aren't inherently I fit in or I don't. It's how you do the work. We listened. We're trying to do quality work with a quality product. Next. This is the last slide I have, and I'll end here, and I will show you that this rendering reflects the 2 materials you have in your hand. At the corner, that is all stucco. You see the brick down low. Level 2 is horizontal joints in the stucco to match the artisan panel when you're not on the rounded corner. Up high, the rounded corner is stucco, and you see the larger scale of the joints. Those patterns replicate and move around the building. Building B on the right is rendered using the artisan panel and the large format panel, and as you can see, they're almost indistinguishable from one another. By allowing this change in this material in percentages larger than allowed, it allows us to maintain the beautiful detailing, the beautiful sense of place, the plantings, the gardens, the canopies, the alley, and that pedestrian place that is a new place that doesn't exist in the city. Allowing this change to a percentage greater than what's normally allowed not only has been done in the district, whether it's done well or not well is not my purview, but doing it here allows us to do the things everyone has said. They want this to be nice. They want it to be a quality project. They want it to have a good feel. And they want it to fit in. Doing this helps that cause. This is our final rendering. This is the best blend of price and aesthetics. We feel that not only is the proposed material change to artisan plank and stucco look, cementitious fiber siding visually acceptable, they are the next best option. And with that, I would kindly request your approval, and I will open it up for questions for me before I sit down.
I've got a question and a comment.
Let's hear it.
So I got to go back to the Oklahoma City Community Foundation building. That was intended to be, thank you, Somebody should have done that.
I listen to music way too loud. That's not on you, that's on me.
Is that better?
It's great.
All right. The Oklahoma City Community Foundation building was intended to be terracotta, and whenever it could not be delivered, they did go to a glass fiber reinforced concrete, but it's actually 1-inch thick panels hung off of clips on the back.
It's like a rain screen.
It's like a
setup, yes, sir.
rain screen. So the material is definitely a different material than is through fastened.
Correct.
And then also, you have two different thicknesses of materials that you have. Are those, which one?
What do you mean?
You got two different thicknesses of materials that got passed around.
I did. So
One is a thicker material
Yes.
than what's on West End or the Muse. The other one seems to be the same material as
So
on West
the,
End or the
the
Muse.
artisan plank is a thicker material that addresses both of your comments. And if you held them together, you saw how that lap happened.
Right.
You fasten it through that upper tongue so that
Correct.
the other one hides that. That addresses the first concern about hidden fasteners.
Right.
And it's thicker so that they can have that profile and allow that type of attachment. Hence why that's slightly more expensive than our previously proposed lap siding. And then the panel above, that flat panel, it comes in one thickness.
That's the thinner, and then
The
that
thinner
would
one,
be
yes, sir.
through flashed and through fastened, and it would be it would have some kind of a detailing around the perimeter that's different than the stucco detail or the artisan
Correct.
detail you showed.
What
Okay.
we're looking at doing is a reverse board and batten setup, and there's several different ways to attach that. One of them is a through fasten. The other one is a more expensive type of rain screen system like you're talking about.
Okay, I just was curious. I wanted
Yes.
to get a clarification on that.
Any other questions? Well, in case I don't get back up, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, is there anyone else with the applicant that wants to speak?
Hi, good morning. My name is Stephen Watts. I'm a developer with Rose Rock Development Partners. I'm the CEO and managing partner. We feel like we've designed a very beautiful building here for the corner of 4th and Gaylord, and I can say with complete confidence that this is the type of building we would build for market rate all day, every day. I mean, the detailing on this building, I think, is something that the city can be proud of, that the citizens can be proud of. I think we've created something much more visually interesting than what you'll see typically, the Texas-style wrap that gets built a lot. This is something that the residents can interact with, that the pedestrians can interact with, walking down that alley, all the landscaping details. I think this is something that citizens will be proud of. And on top of that, we're delivering much needed affordable housing for downtown Oklahoma City, housing that does not exist right now in downtown Oklahoma City, and housing that's much needed to provide a workforce for a lot of our downtown businesses. And I think it's important to keep in mind that even though we are delivering that affordable housing, that we're building a very quality product that market rate residents would be proud to live in as well. So hopefully we can get an approval today from you so we can move forward on this project and get working to get this housing delivered as soon as possible to downtown Oklahoma City.
Thank you. Hey, is there anyone in the gallery that wants to speak on this?
I think it's open to anybody now.
Good morning. Anthony McDermott. I appeared before you in your last meeting, although I didn't see two of you. So I will not repeat what I said at the last meeting. I've restated my concerns in an email to Laura. I don't think those concerns have been allayed. This is still hardy plank. It is not stucco. And more importantly, it's not the originally proposed brick. So my concerns are still the same concerns that staff has, and those have not changed. As far as just responding to the presentation this morning, the rhetoric about the beautiful alley and how the street is activated, and that all sounds great, but that's not why you're here. You're here to, as close as possible, make sure that your review follows the guidelines that are codified. Housing does not exist in the downtown is patently untrue. The CBD no longer exists. That's going to be news to a lot of people. The Oklahoma City Community Foundation, I think the slide was very telling. It sort of proves the case for not using, and we can flash back to it, but you can see the discoloration of the various panels. It's a testimony to why we do not want to see this product. Hardy products will just simply, they will never be mistaken for stucco, and regardless of clever detailing. And as far as the third-party review, I don't know if you've seen it, read it. This was a consultant that was hired by Okura to opine on the products, and the best they could come up with was satisfactory. I did think it was interesting that the applicant is to detail the transition of the fenestration frame to the wall material so that the wall projects beyond the window or door frame by at least 1 inch. The architects on the committee will know that what we're looking at here are vast areas of flat material where a window is flush with the cladding. The original documents, the original drawings showed reveals. I mean, maybe we are going to see reveals around the windows, but this comment, the last comment made by the reviewer, I thought was very telling. So the reviewer is at least hoping for a 1 inch reveal of the cladding material to the window. So unless we are going to be building this thing according to this rendering, that is a long, flat wall. I'm glad that the applicant has come up with a stucco solution for the curved end. My recommendation would be that the street elevations maintain a stucco product or appearance. What goes on inside the building, that is, the walls flanking the alley, the beautiful alley, should or could be an alternate material. But the elevations that people will see need to be some sort of product that is superior to hardy plank. And I would also remind you that this will set a precedent, and if there is a second phase, if a second phase ever comes along, it will also have the same material on it. So we're not just looking at 2 buildings, we're going to be looking at the ends of another building that juxtaposes adjacent to this. So the decision you make this morning is really, really important. And I know there are 2 professionals on the panel and that deal with this material and understand the material and the application of the material. But I would just encourage you to follow staff's recommendation on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the gallery that wants to speak on this? Series
Margaret
always
Eller,
says- Morning.
1521 North Chartel Avenue, but you have to kind of pretend today that I am Betsy Brunstetter at least part of the time, because I promised Betsy that I would come today since she couldn't. But I am not speaking as an architect because I am not one. But I love old buildings, and most of you all know that. And I don't think it's a question of affordable housing. I'm very familiar with Belmont's work and like them very much and know that they do quality work. What I'm concerned about, and it's not the site plan, it's not the appearance, it is what are these buildings going to look like in 40 or 50 years? And these buildings have an enviable position in downtown, being across the street from the Pioneer Building, across the street from OPUBCO. It is one of those intersections where you're going to see the whole building, not the first floor or 2. You're going to see the whole building. And I'm concerned that we all know that there's a building at about 4th and Chartel that's maybe been open a year or so, and It's already aging pretty quickly. That is made with some similar products, maybe different sizes of things, but I think this location deserves a special building. The inhabitants of it, we would like affordable housing downtown, but I think the building shells themselves need to have a more substantial product on them, and that's my uneducated, not architect opinion, but as somebody who does care about what goes on downtown and what we're going to be seeing for a long time, that's my opinion about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Laura, do you mind going back on that slideshow and going back to the Oklahoma City Community Foundation?
Whoops. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. That one, either or, is fine. The rendering is fine. Yeah. And I think I really want to make the note that, this is not on Broadway, that this is in the interior. This is facing
Facing the alley
facing the surface level parking lot.
and the alley.
The brick detail is to the south on 9th Street, to the west on Broadway, and even at the corner on 10th, which is obviously that we all know that this is a very prominent corner, there's even more detail on that corner with other materials that are usually used in, this area. So, I think this is a good example of, yes, that this cementous fibrous material is used, but it's also, and remind me what this material is again, the interior? Sure. That this is also kind of out of the public, not necessarily completely out of the public view, but this is a secondary to Broadway, to 10th, to 9th Street. So, my comment. Any other comments?
I actually had the exact same thought go through my head. I was like, this is the parking lot side. And I also, seeing this photo made me also think about how important the color is. I think one disadvantage this building has, it has a red tone to it, which is terrible for our sun in weather. Even if it's integral, it will pinken. And I think from what I can tell, the color palette we're looking for this building is in the white range, which I would say would probably not have as strong as a change as this, but it might go opposite. It might get dirty. It might get more red from our dirt. So those are just some thoughts I had to, after reviewing this, also knowing it is a different product too, but the application and the theory behind it is similar to what we're discussing today.
Oh, yeah.
I just wanted to take a moment to address some of everybody's comments. My name is John Sempner. I'm Isaac's partner, 500 North Broadway. When we talk about our project, a lot of the discussions you're having today are discussions we had. How do we bring in the thicker cementitious fiber siding? Well, let's put that on the lowest pedestrian scale. So where do we spend our money? on that lower scale. You know, I appreciate Anthony bringing up the fact that the window detailing, you know, our third-party architect said, hey, you need to have enough window detailing for at least a minimum of 1 inch. We're going to exceed that minimum. You know, some of these things are not, you know, we're nitpicking. The photo of the Oklahoma City Community Foundation, you know, it's one of the best precedents of this style of product downtown, but it's not the only one. You know, West Village was one of the early ones where it is all over that project. It is all street facing, and it is probably the oldest. Does it have a couple spots where there is wear? And yeah, you know, that material requires maintenance. All material requires maintenance. Brick requires maintenance. Stucco requires maintenance. Glass requires maintenance. And so, you know, when people said the Muse requires maintenance, like we you know, as design professionals went over and grilled that building yesterday, and you know, a lot of it we saw as maintenance. There was some waving on a couple facades, but it was very minor. We actually thought it was a great install. We think, you know, the precedent has been set to use this material. It's in the code to use this material. We're asking the same the same increase as other projects have been allowed to use, but we're also giving a lot. You know, on those lower floors, we brought in a large base, you know, which was a request. You know, we brought in, you know, a lot of pedestrian area, a lot of focus on that. You know, that's really where we're trying to spend our effort and spend our design dollars, is down at that pedestrian scale. You know, when you're in the canyons that are being created downtown, it's hard to get back and look up 6 stories. And that's why when we talk about thinner materials and more edges that we have some concerns about, that's, you know, 30 to 60 feet in the air. That's not really where I'm as concerned, and that's where, you know, we're going to use that to our advantage. That's where previous projects have been allowed, you know, EFS and other things up high, and that's why we're putting those materials up high, out of the way. You know, we really feel that this is a very thoughtful use of this material, and we hope that you do approve it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I spent some time also looking around, and West Village happens to be a building that I see quite a bit, and the street-facing parts of it are, I don't think they're performing the way that everybody wants them to perform. I do like the brick. The thicker panel I've not used before. It is very interesting because it seems like it's got a lot more concrete in it. It's got a lot less ability to move around. But when you get into the thinner panels and the way that the edges are detailed, on the street-facing side that I'm watching daily, it's not performing the way I think that you would want this one to. That's the way that I see that. My concern leading up to that would have been that the level of conversation that happened last year leading up to the approval of the EFS accents was what I felt like was a compromise to get to that point. And then this is moving that compromise even further. I appreciate what Anthony said about, you know, if we're going to have a consideration and a conversation about trying to meet in the middle, the interior portions where you really can't see, that's the discussion. But on this corner, the way that it's set, yes, I'm glad it's stucco on the curve. That's doing what it needs to do, and that will be the good vista that will be seen when you're coming from the north and from the west. So I appreciate the fact that that was done. The large material on the south face still causes me concern in how it's going to perform long term.
do you have some type of further guidance or any motion, any other commentary? Because I think I agree with that point. I think that I appreciate the corner being the stucco. I think that it's going to be hard for me to think through not having a brick or stucco material off of 4th Street and on EK Gaylor, so just your exterior sides. I think if we were to make a new compromise, we would try to figure out how can we get more of a brick, more of a stucco.
Can we go back to the north facade, just the straight-on elevation? And this is where I'm getting a little bit of my concern.
Okay, was that the one you're referring to as something that
In
he
the
took?
presentation, I
The most
believe.
recent presentation where it actually has the new stucco sample panel.
Hang on.
That's the old facade with color blocks. I will show you one.
Yes, but the one that doesn't have color blocks, the same one. What I'm looking at is in between
Slide 14.
your furthest west set of coins before the
Slide
curve.
14.
Yeah, it's not in this presentation.
Oh,
There is an expanse of material before you hit the first set of windows. And what I'm curious is, what's the jointing that happens for that expanse? What's the biggest, the size of these panels, it's when they get to be big is whenever it also starts to get to be problematic. What is the jointing?
So
North. And what I'm trying to do is reinforce the comment that I made. This is where I start to get really concerned about the use of these panels in the large areas. You've got 2 areas between windows, which is a greater dimension horizontally.
Is that the one everybody's wanting to see?
That's east. Oh, it says east ground floor and it says north.
This is 4th Street.
North on,
to answer your question while they're hunting,
yeah.
Mr.
The,
I think we're looking at a different package.
that one.
The revised cladding.
That's the south facade right there of Building A.
Keep going up. That's the one.
Yeah.
You've got 2
That's the north facade.
the north facade, that you've got larger expanses between those buildings, between those windows. There's 2 spots.
Are you talking,
What?
for example, you're talking below the word west facade, below the A and D
Direct
facade?
below AD of facade. What's the jointing in that area? Here, it looks like it's one swath of,
So
material.
they don't make these panels that wide. They come in 8, 10, 12-foot lengths.
What's that
But they
dimension?
do make concealed fastener or concealed reveals. So in a reverse board and batten, which you're familiar with, the batten's down, then you put the board on top.
Correct.
You see the reveal. They make an aluminum trim piece that you paint to match that end butts panels, and it
Right.
attaches that way. And that was the intent there if we went that route. We did have an option where, to your point about if it makes sense to just add another vertical coin there out of the artisan panel, that's an easy fix. We'd be happy to do that.
I'm more, I would introduce a coin in a flat plane, but in that, to start introducing aluminum trim pieces is now we're getting to another level of detail that's different than what we're
Yes,
seeing
sir.
here when we're talking about stucco. So that's reinforcing on that big plane, on the street-facing sides, those are the facades that I
Well,
give my greatest.
And so you know where our thought was, and you can go either way with this. Our thought was you've heard us reiterate this a million times, that we're trying to activate the ground floor of this corner. We all agree this is an important site, and if it were super important, it would have its own district, but it's in this district. The level, if you add a higher level of detail to those upper floors, it draws the eye to it. So the question becomes, do you design it so that it blends in and fades away, or do you design it to attract attention to it? And I think adding in 1 or 2 more coins doesn't sway it one way or the other. I'm just leery of pushing it too hard to draw your attention up instead of down.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank
I
you.
understand.
I suspect what Tony's trying to get at is we have a CGI that's a little bit low resolution that doesn't actually show sizes of proposed panels, real details on how wide is the reveal, what is the material of the reveal. Like, you know, Perk and Eastman said that we should have 1-inch depth from the outside face of the material to the face of the frame of the window. We don't see any details that show that system. We know typically this product in a vinyl window is going to project beyond the concrete fiber cement siding. So I think, you know, we've done like an InDesign overlay where we see some blue and some yellow to say this is this material, this is this material, but we don't see any panel joints and sizes and dimensions and detailing that reinforce what you're actually proposing. You've just gone away and said, we heard you want stucco, we're proposing a stucco, but we're not telling you how we're doing it. And so I don't know if we're approving a fully realized and designed detail proposal.
Is there any type of, I guess, like, how do we move, how do we give them like a recommendation to kind of get to the point where we need to see that? Does that make sense? So,
I understand. I mean, I'm heading towards a place where it's kind of what Mr. McDermott was talking about because of the street facing. But what I'm trying to do is speak to it based on what's been presented. So let me try one more thing. On the corner, you're showing stucco detailing, you're showing stucco jointing, and the jointing is that there's going to be a horizontal line that goes between windows. And there's going to, because that width is greater than 5 feet, and the panels only come 5 feet wide. So the detailing of the rhythm of line work that's going to happen on the curve when it comes to the end and starts going down the north facade, that detailing and line work will change. But there's going to have to be an additional vertical joint because if the distance between those windows is greater than 5 feet, you won't be able to have greater than a 5-foot panel. So there's going to have to be, and I don't know the distances between the windows. Is the distance greater than or less than 5 feet between the windows?
So balancing all of this, to your point, the intent, and I get where you're coming from, Eric, I'm going to address both of these comments. If you want to see the level of detailing and how we do head jam sill window details, this was a quick turnaround. If you remember where we were, we agreed as a group to do a quick turnaround. I can absolutely get you those details, but in that time frame that we requested to keep this moving forward, that was an unrealistic goal. However, it will be detailed accordingly, properly, approved by the city, and I don't do bad details. To address your point about the joints, stucco, traditional stucco systems, there's a max area. I believe it's 144 square feet that you have to do before you have to verticals and horizontals. Otherwise, it cracks. You detail that differently than you detail this.
Correct.
The intent is to have that rhythm, that datum, that repetition be as continuous as possible. The goal right now, and again, we are working quick, but the goal is at windows, you have verticals and horizontals. To your point about where those spans are greater, we have two options. Do you use a different type of reveal to make it disappear, or do I add an extra vertical? And adding an extra vertical isn't the end of the world. It's as long as you fit that in, and just saying a vertical reveal isn't a make or a break for the project. It's where you place it, how you you detail it. And we've walked through that. We are comfortable that it will look good, it will look the same. And again, as John mentioned, I mentioned, we've said a few times, those joints are 30 to 40 feet in the air. So by the time you're looking at them, they will look the same. It will look a contiguous feel. That's the intent. Okay.
I hear what you're saying.
Thank you.
do we have any other consideration on, okay.
So I'm trying to listen to you guys, and we're trying to get there. We appreciate the proposal that Mr. McDermott said of stucco, remaining stucco on the street-facing facades and approving the cementitious fiber siding as proposed on the alleyway and the parking lot side. We would be commensurate with that.
Okay.
It,
Time is very important to us on this. We've got tax credits and we've got other things that we've got to get going on it. So we really don't want to have to come back here again and have another month because we're looking to break ground next month, so.
Thank you to the entire team for what was said. That helps me in this conversation. And not to get into the minutia, obviously there would have to be conversations about how it's done, but I think that could be worked out with some ease. I think that's a good compromise on street-facing sides, and unless there's some commentary.
No, I think I think my next point was going to be looking at building a north facade with the latest presentation of just making sure that we potentially do more of a brick or more of a stucco on the exterior sides, or on the Northeast 4th and then EK Gaylord side. So I think that would be the direction that I was thinking too.
And I do
as
have a
compromise.
question. Are you also, what about the 3rd Street? Which is,
Can you pull up
so the project is 4th down EK Gaylord to 3rd Street as far as street facing.
pull up a site plan?
Sorry, Katie, can you
yeah.
pull up the site plan? Thanks.
Okay.
And I also heard, whenever we talked last month, the time was already critical last month, and this time was appreciated.
Okay, hold on. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think this packet, because it is just a revision to the cladding, doesn't actually have a site plan, but I've got up the approval from, okay, here's,
Yeah.
this is from,
For clarification that I'm wrong and how I was viewing it, because it's just a tip. If you go down a little bit further to show the south, you can see 3rd
Okay.
Street is even further south than that. So you see the tip of that building, and mostly what you see is the parking lot. So
So
thank you for that.
if we're talking about the north facade, the north plane, the curve, until it hits a point. I mean, I'd like it to go back to an alignment with that short-facing facade that faces northwest, then the long plane and the short-facing facade that faces southwest.
Of Building A.
Of
And then
building-
we have Building B, which is below it.
Yeah, Building B would have 3 planes, Building A would have a full flat plane, the curb, and a small flat plane with a detailed transition of some sort. Okay. Any other comments?
No, I think that's where I was headed. So how do we need to kind of make the recommendation? Maybe it's helpful from staff. So how do we make the recommendation for those edits?
So one, staff would recommend for your consideration that when we come up with the description of what you're looking for on those street facades, that they provide that to staff. The CA would not become effective for 10 business days. I don't know if 10 business days is enough time for you to be able to get the
Would we not
detail.
be
that-
going back to the originally proposed detailing, and that's already been approved? So we're
Right, okay,
so for the facades that we're talking about, which is the north facade of Building A,
right.
the curved facade,
Mhm.
and a distance of Building A until it gets past the northwest facing facade of Building B, the northwest facing, southwest facing, and southeast facing facades of Building B.
Right.
All of that detailing would be done in accordance with what's already been approved. It would just be the already approved exterior.
Okay, so you're not asking them to turn anything else in?
No.
Okay,
And
just-
then on the interior courtyard facing resultant spaces and the two pure east facing facades, then it's the cementitious facing material with the artisan panels as shown on the second floor, the second level, and then above the second level, or, yeah. And
Yeah,
then
3
for
to
3
6.
through 6, then it becomes a, large format cementitious siding panel with a detail that that detail, it needs, my feeling on that detail, I wouldn't want to see a whole lot of aluminum sticking out all over it. It would be as close to the stucco paneling as possible.
Okay,
So I think your motion could be similar to what's in the staff report, to approve the application with the condition that the revised cladding material be limited to the east facade and the interior alley-facing facades, with details closely approximating the stucco as closely as possible to be submitted to staff.
Yeah.
Something like
And
that.
I do think it's important that on floor 2, that panel that creates the rustication joints, the artisan panel that is thicker, because it's going to, one, all the detailing is concealed. There is no exposed aluminum trim or anything, and the panel, detailed in accordance with the manufacturer's written recommendations. So I'll put forward a motion to approve the application on the basis that the project complies with the regulations and guidelines of the Downtown Design District zoning ordinance as referenced in section C and D of the staff report, with the condition that for the interior portions of the two buildings, specifically the north facade of Building B and the south courtyard-facing facade of Building A, extending no further past the northwest-facing facade of Building B, and the two east-facing facades of Building A and B, be constructed with the material that more closely approximates the appearance of the previously approved stucco and is architecturally compatible with the previously approved design, or to an alternative material that is more keeping with the character of the previously approved project and the surrounding district, with the understanding that that language is the glass fiber reinforced cementitious siding as presented in this meeting. And this information is to be submitted to staff prior to the issuance of a certificate of approval.
Okay.
that
Did I get it?
I wanted to land on, and because I brought that up a while ago, and there was a conversation about, but it was just going back to what the original was. And that's why I said, well, there's 10 business days now until the CA is effective. And if you're wanting them to provide additional stuff to staff before the CA can be issued, that's why I was asking, is that something that can be done in 10 days so that we don't delay them? That's why I brought that up.
I think we're talking about the detailing of the hardy plank siding is the thing that's missing
Okay,
in what's been presented.
so is that doable? And if you're gonna, yeah, I'm sorry.
Well, so while you're walking up, I mean, our kind of standard procedure is if the applicant needs to submit revised materials to staff, the effective date is the effective date, but we don't issue the CA until.
And I can't sign off on the
Right,
building permits.
we don't issue the CA and we don't sign off on a building permit until we have the revised materials. So if that takes 48 hours or if that takes 2 months, that's just on your timeline
So,
at that point. And we'll
Agreed. So
yeah.
what I would request is, if just asking me, can you have details in 10 days is not enough information for me to answer that. If you want specific details, I will make it absolute best effort I can to get you those. It sounds like you want a reveal detail, a drip edge detail, and a window jamb. Is that a true statement?
Absolutes are the things that get me in trouble. I'd like the detailing to match I'd like it to approximate the stucco detailing. I think the details referenced in all the details that are referenced in Perkins Eastman's letter, those need to be provided because they're referencing those to, like, you're supposed to be doing this for the product to perform correctly. So those are the details.
Okay.
And then I think the detail that is important is whenever there's an extra joint, that if you had stucco, you would not have that joint. But now you've got a product that requires a joint, and I think that joint needs to be provided because it needs to be minimalized or minimized.
Is it possible that those details could be administratively approved?
I'm fine with
I
that.
think that's what we're
100%, yeah.
talking about here.
Absolutely.
Happy to do it.
So,
That's my
active
motions.
motion.
Active motion.
Do I have a second?
Copeland second.
Okay. We have a vote. Okay, motion passes. Thank you for all your efforts, really appreciate it. Okay. Item 7, other business. We
Oh.
have,
While Laura's working with them, we have a long list of administrative approvals. Happy to answer questions about those. They are attached in your packet, as always, so I don't think we have anything particularly exciting to report there, but happy to.
Well, what I will
provide any
say is,
information.
we have a lot going on in Midtown on Walker, which is exciting. 2 restaurants, if you haven't heard, we're getting, Mexican Radio is moving. And then an unnamed restaurant, I still don't know what's gonna be there. But they're actually adding on, they're tearing down a deck, adding on and doing a bunch of outdoor stuff. So there's a lot going on up there. And, thank you. You saw the Thunder banners. I mean, it takes a while for this stuff to show up, and I think the one on the Omni, I think it looks good. It's the first time we've had those. And the other thing I would say is we have a meeting next month. Currently, I have one item on the agenda. One of you has a conflict with it. So that means I need 4 more people. We're down to 6, and I will reach out. One of the members has been out of the country for an extended time, and I don't think she's back yet. And so we'll probably do an early quorum call next week to reach out to everybody so you can check your calendar so that we don't delay that project. So just a heads up on that.
okay. Any comments from committee members?
I've got one. Have they come back and sent you the revised curb cuts with the traffic barriers and the correct distances so cars that are entering their parking lots are not blocking the sidewalks? And
They did that, and with the change in tree as well. If you remember, we made them change their trees. They did provide that.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, our next regular committee meeting is Thursday, June 20th, 2024. New applications were to be submitted by staff by 4 p.m. on Tuesday, May 14th. Revisions and information on continued projects will be submitted by May 21st, 2024. If nothing else, we are adjourned.